Otter would remind me, so. Okay, and it's 1 o'clock, so we're going to go ahead and get going. And like I said, folks will be coming in. I'm Cathi Coridan, along with Melinda Cruzeta-Perna, the co-founders and co-chairs of the Senior Real Estate Mastermind and Referral Network. And we had made a decision the middle of last year that in addition to our monthly masterminds, we wanted to do a monthly agent spotlight. So, a person, or in this case, a husband-wife team, and next month is a husband-wife team from the Austin area. So the back-to-back wasn't intentional, but I think it's really interesting and they can really add some new dimensions to this. But folks that have made a commitment, have been working on this process of serving seniors for a while and are making an impact in the community that they're in. And Melinda and I will ask a series of questions. It's a 30-minute, so I will get the introduction over with quickly. And we're really looking at how did they make the decision and grow their business? What are the challenges and what are the things they're doing now and what are their next steps? And so that's the overview, and I'm going to get going and introduce Willie Nelson and Stacy Nelson from Kansas City, Missouri. They're the Willie and Stacy team, and I don't know which one of you wants to get started, but how did you get started serving seniors? And then a little bit about your business before you get into that.
Stacy, you want to start, and I'll go.
Sure. I started serving seniors not in real estate. I started serving seniors because I was working part-time at a bank because I was home with our kids, and the president asked me to start a senior loyalty club. So I ended up starting 3 days a week, and we started education, entertainment, and travel. But it grew really fast, and eventually we got a full-time assistant. Then I went full-time, and it just became it was a fun thing to do, and it was a lot of meeting different people, doing the education every month, taking people all over the world. But when Willie became a realtor, it became obvious that we should serve him in a more important way than just entertainment. We needed to help them through this process.
Okay. So Stacy and I got married in 2012. She's in that role. I make a pivot to real estate in 2014. When I made that pivot, I don't know about the rest of you, but I was sitting in the bullpen with others, and I would hear how they were talking about senior clients. And quite honestly, it was disturbing to say the least. They were frustrated. They didn't know how to serve them. They used all the wrong ways to try to serve them. And our team leader at the time had already started a group here in the office of certified senior housing professionals. So that was already here. And the co-founders of that organization happened to be in Kansas City for an event. And so I got invited to lunch with Nikki and Chris Buckaloo via Mark Wilkinson, our team leader. And at lunch, I'm just telling our story and how I'm new in real estate and kind of what my experience had been. And then I told Stacy's part of the story to Nikki and Chris, and they're like, wait a minute, she's got a what? She has a club and they do education, entertainment, and travel. Are you kidding? Like, Willie, you should be going after all of them. And I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. That's, first of all, she works for a bank and I can't just go after all of them. And so, but that opened some serious dialogue that's something we could do. So Stacy and I then started having conversations around what that might look like if she joined me full-time in real estate. Could she do what she did for the bank for our team? Could she do education for seniors, entertainment, and travel? And so that's literally how we got our start. That's kind of how that all developed. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun since. But yeah, we'll get into that more further in the interview.
Okay.
It's interesting because that team leader, Mark Wilkinson, knew that I was in a committee in the area of different people who serve seniors. And so we had a big breakfast, and Willie came with me because I'm one of the people on the board, and Mark was there. So even before Willie was ever a realtor, he got thrown into this and met realtors. So it was kind of, it just fell into place.
Yeah. And what would be your why for seniors? You've said a lot of the how and shown a lot of your heart, but what is the why for you guys for serving seniors?
I think for me, it is being an advocate. I realized early on that they didn't have advocates, not just in our industry, but in general. I just came back from the state capitol this last week, and there's decisions that are made every day for seniors, and they really don't, I don't feel like there's that strong voice for them. And so I feel like it's important at all levels of government, but also in our community. I think it's really, first of all, I celebrate everyone that is part of your organization, because you all have hearts for that, for seniors specifically. And so I just think that um, they need they need us to be those advocates for them. And that's something that we've really focused on through our career.
For me, it's about if we don't help them, who will? And are they going to care for them like we would? Or are they going to rush them through something, not take the time to sit across the table, not check the paperwork before we start the transaction? I want to know that these people that need help are going to have it.
Okay. Which group of seniors are your focus? We talk a lot about, 55 to 100 is 45 years. That's a very diverse population. If you go from 0 to 45, you know how diverse that is. So you've seen one senior, you've seen one senior. Which group of seniors do you guys focus most of your attention on?
So the book Stage Not Age is important, because I don't believe it's an age thing. It's those that need our help, because there's plenty of seniors that don't need our help at all, and they can handle it themselves. It's those that genuinely need our love, support. And I don't know about you, but many times we hear the same story. We're 2+ years out until they have an emergency, right? One couple in particular that, as soon as I said that, came to mind. He absolutely loved the land that they lived on, and he built the house. He was never going to leave that property. But they came to our seminars. They were extremely active, and they were advocates for us. And one day he'd just been consistently coming. And then there was a language change, and it was, well, we're going to have to move a little quicker. And then the next time we saw them, it was no longer need to move quicker. Something had happened, and they had to make the move like now. And so it was not going to do, not going to do, not going to do. Well, it just became urgent, but now we have to do it. And they're thrilled that they did. They're in a CCRC now, but so they went from the farm, out from the land he was on that he loved, to that senior community, and it happened, quite honestly, pretty quickly. And sometimes that happens, and so you just need to be ready for them when they're and be present around them, so when they happen, you're there to help them through it.
Okay.
For
What were
me,
the,
it's a lot of,
sorry.
oh, sorry. For me, it's a lot about are they living their safest and their best life? So we watch that. If they can stay in the home, great. Are they moving to a villa? Are they moving from a villa to a community? Whatever is their safest, best journey.
Okay. And that's a great way to put it, because it's not just it's safest, but it's also the best for them.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Okay. What were the struggles you guys had as you started?
Well, I think for me in the beginning, it was because I started serving seniors almost immediately after coming into real estate. So for me, it was just learning the parts of the real estate parts. And I had a mentor that helped me through that. And then we had the mentor in Nikki and Chris, and helping me on that side. So I had the Nikki, Chris on this side, and learning real estate. So I think that was my challenge, is I had to learn it all at once. It wasn't I've been in real estate for 10 years, and then now it's time to serve seniors. It was right out of the gate. So I had to learn all of it at once. And so I think that was my challenge. I'll let Stacy talk for what her challenges were, but that was mine. just to start out.
And I'll pop in to say, as someone who didn't have that mentoring and came in serving seniors as I started in real estate, be thankful that even though it was confusing, you had good mentors on both sides that worked collaboratively, because that's where we hear so many people being lost. I hear you being overwhelmed and drinking from the fire hose, and that is a challenge.
Yeah.
But it did you good.
It did. And it's interesting because my background before was I was a network, first as a Walmart manager, from a Walmart manager to a network marketer. And so I coached people every day. And so I knew that I needed smart people around me in coaching roles. And so that was really important when I started. And funny story, like my I came into real estate. It's a crazy story. I backed into it. I was invited to family reunion. I was going to turn it on referral because I had a successful network marketing business. But and then I went and I'm like, wait a minute, what they're teaching realtors is what I teach my teams. I can stay home, be with my wife. This makes perfect sense. And so I came home from family reunion and off to the races we went. But so I came in a little bit different than a lot, but yeah.
Okay. Stace, sorry, I cut you off.
Oh, no. For me, I was already working with seniors, so that really wasn't a challenge. It was just a matter of moving over to this side. And a lot of, by the time I left the program, I started at one bank. That president moved, talked me into moving to a bigger bank. We kept adding more banks. So we had 8,000 members by the time I left on our club. And so it was a very busy club, a lot of traveling, a lot of activities. So just moving that over and bringing some of those people with us, a lot of them are still with us. And that's actually why we still travel, is they said, how will we finish our bucket list if you don't keep taking us? So we agreed to meet once a year.
Okay, this is the segue to Willy and Stacy do events like nobody else does. Go on, guys.
Well, and I want to say one of the things. So when she left the bank, there's obviously she works for a bank and she can't take the list with her. So that was a challenge for us. So what we did is we took out there was a local magazine that was a lifestyle magazine. And we were, every year they did a full highlight of us, but then we did a 1-page ad every single month. And that's what we put our seminars in. So we ran our and it was that's all it was. It was focused on the seminars, and then the highlight was always about a senior client we were helping at the time. So for us, that's how we got through that piece, because she couldn't go after the list. Like that's right. That's a way no. And so we had to figure out that was a challenge when she joined us, to make sure that we stayed above the fray that way. So
hey, back up. I want to get really clear on what you said you just did. So you would take out a spread in a magazine once a month with a seminar. Yes. And in the magazine or at the seminar, you would highlight one of your clients' stories.
Oh, no. So the magazine itself, it was a lifestyle magazine. And so part of the package that they had was that you got an annual spotlight. It was a 2-page spread. And what we did is we highlighted a senior client we were helping at that time in that magazine. And that went out to all the lake communities. We have 5 lake communities. So it went to all the lake communities, and it went out to some of the top large neighborhoods. And so that were on the higher end pricing. And I say that to somebody in San Diego, I mean, it was, 500,000. So, your low end pricing, our high end pricing. So, but it went to that group. And so but many of those people were, may or may not have been clients of the bank.
That was why I stopped you, because although people like to say everything can work everywhere, you and I both know that's not true. Willy and Stacy, what runs in Oklahoma City is going to be different in San Diego. However, what's true is you saw an obstacle. That was, you can't take the list, because you two are ethical people, right? You can't take the list. So how do you reach those people? And how do you make it, I'm not just selling you, this is real. So I'm glad that you said it, because I was going to say, and I bet a lot of those people recognize Stacy and Willy from those events. And so you built trust in a niche.
And
It was, and you know, it's interesting, Melinda. So Stacy and I got married in 12. So they knew her by a different name.
Mhm.
So the first year it had her not maiden, her former married name at the like it so that they could see that that's who it was. So they'd recognize her, but then they saw the name and they didn't see because they wouldn't have known Nelson. So
There's
that was
not a
year
lot of men
one.
in the room. There's only a couple. But I think it matters that you actually just said that. You also set ego aside
Yeah,
of her ex-husband's married name because you understood you were building something together.
yep,
right.
100%.
And with
And
our
so
picture in the magazine and with the people seeing it, they'd put it all together and know that they could still come to seminars because I had been doing seminars for years, you know.
yeah, and we do free seminars so that there was no cost. There was no cost seminars, and we picked up along the way quite a few people that just because they wanted to come to free education.
Right.
So
Had no idea who Stacy was.
right, and didn't know who Stacey was.
They do now.
But then the highlights, one of the nice things that they did is they actually framed those. So we have the framed versions of each of those spotlights. And so it was pretty cool for sure.
Okay. Okay, so then talk really quickly before we get into the partners and that piece of it about your travel client events, because it really is a phenomenal opportunity for everybody and has helped you build your business in a way that's different from most people.
It really does build a bond. When you travel with someone, you become family. And a lot of these people had traveled with me multiple years before. You know, like when Willie first became a realtor, one of the ladies that was on our Australia trip across the dining table, she's like, well, nobody sold my 70-acre, 7,000 square foot house. I might call you since now you're a realtor. And in the end, he sold that property. It'd been on the market for 10 years with several realtors. So being on the trip together is an amazing way to build the bond. And they refer us business all the time. You know, they know they can trust us. So it's a matter of just setting up. I have a tour company. We set up all the details. What makes our trip different is you get on my coach, I take you to the airport, and you don't do anything else to have to work the rest of the time. So they can totally relax and have everything covered till we take them back home. And they enjoy that. It's a lot of work, but they enjoy it.
One of the things I work really hard, and this is coming from a realtor, I work really hard to do is not like we're not there to sell them. That is not what this is about. For us, it's about how many times as realtors we love this client. They've been so amazing. And we're like, we need to go break bread with them. We need to go to dinner. We need to go to lunch. We need to go to breakfast with them. And we talk, Stacey and I talk about it, like that's what we're going to do. And then we don't, right? Because time gets away. And then it's like, oh, now it's awkward. Now, if we tried to try to do that now, it would seem very awkward. So for us, once a year, we get a chance to break bread with all of them, many times, 2 or 3 times in a trip.
Mm-hmm.
So it checks that box, if you will, if you want to say it like that, checks the box that we now been able to break bread with them and hear about them. Turn that conversation to what's going on in their lives so that we can better serve them, right? That's really what it's about. And so I know some people when they hear us do that, they're like, oh, you know, like what kind of sales thing do you do on the trips? And I'm like, no. That's not what this is about. We're along for the ride with them. Stacy's leading the group. I'm usually what we do is I'll either be leading or and she's behind or vice versa. So we make sure everybody stays together because it's like herding cats. And so we're in a foreign country somewhere and got to make sure we all stay together. So, but for us, that serves for that. So that it's been a really cool way. And it answers for them to be able to do those bucket list items because so many of them, there's things that they've wanted to do. Like we're next fall, in fall of 26, we're going to, we'll be on the Danube. So from Passau, Germany to Budapest, Budapest, and that's a trip that many of them have wanted to do. And so here we are. We're going to be doing. In fact, we were supposed to do it the COVID year, and of course, we all know what happened that year, and so we didn't get to do that trip. So we've now pushed it out. But but there's so many. It's a bucket list trip, and we actually have a Facebook group around the travel. And it's funny because there's people that try to do what we do, but they don't understand there's many important pieces through it. So it's what I would tell you, if it's something you want to do, don't just try to throw yourself into it and think, oh, I can figure it out. Well, it's not that simple. So and feel free to call us, feel free to reach out. I mean, it's something we can help you do if that's something you want to do. And it's something you can go on one of the trips with us and watch the experience. But just know there's not going to be a schedule of events that we're going to be doing real estate related events. That's not what it's about.
And saying this reminds me that I used to be better about the pre-trip meeting and the post-trip party. That's just another touch. And all of a sudden, I realize I dropped the ball on that last time. So we'll have a pre-trip party and a post-trip party again.
Okay. Melinda, you're up.
Okay, we're gonna segue into this. This is who are your key partners? Okay, you've already heard your business model is seminars and then creating community and serving them. So as far as client support, your group of chosen seniors, as well as your key partners for obtaining business other than your seminars, or even your seminars, if you include estate people or reverse mortgage or whatever, who are those people?
You named some of them. We have probate lawyers, state elder law lawyers. We have a reverse mortgage guy that knows it forward and backward. We have, I think the packers and the organizers are one of the most important things because that helps people get started. We call ourselves downsizing coaches. And you can have a downsizing club even where they come and have homework, go do this drawer, go do this closet. So those kind of partners are so important to us. Willie, you want to take the others?
Well, I think, and then one of the things when I first started serving seniors was having somebody that understood that at a high level at title. One of our title partners, we had a great conversation. There's so many things in title that can happen, like death in the middle of a transaction. And do we have our ducks in a row before that happens? One of the things that we do, they have what's called the seller sheet. And so we don't have that person called. We fill it out with our client and we send it into the title company because we started seeing systems that they had that might not line up with what we were doing. And so they've made adjustments. We have good partners that understand what we do at a high level and they work with us knowing that. So,
and then for a second, Willie. So you guys are a title and escrow state and title handle.
We are. Yes, thank you. We are a title and escrow
Not
state.
everybody is. So like we're title and escrow, but for the most part, title just handles title and escrow handles what you're talking about. So you made sure that your partners, if they couldn't service them, you were picking up the slack, but you understood their systems.
Yes. And so they would even come with me to senior communities. So like, no, I'm not going to have my client come to you. You're going to go to my client, or a client in the middle of the transaction, mom dies, dad has a heart attack. We're having to sign documents in the hospital. I mean, like it's what you do. And so you have to have partners that are willing to do those things with you and understand and have that care. And it's quite honestly, that one's a difficult one because like many industries, there's a constant turnover in these industries. And so you've got to make sure that you've got that partner that's going to be there with you through the process.
So tell us, we know where you've been. We know you're going on the Danube. I also know that you've joined something close and dear to my heart, and that's Place, which is another broker agnostic place for everything real estate. What are your goals going forward? And then we'll get the next question after that. They kind of go hand in hand. And what are your challenges right now? But what are your goals going forward, you two?
To build an incredible senior focused empire.
Ooh.
to answer your question.
Can we make a movie? The Empire's
Yeah, we could, we could do one of those really cool, it's selling real estate or selling real estate in New York or.
Yeah, they've done that senior dating thing.
Yeah,
I think we
it's
could do
it's too bad we don't live in the
senior
villages.
real estate.
I could see some pretty cool stories happening in the
Yeah,
villages.
selling OKC. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. So, no, I mean, when I say that, I mean, really what we're doing, we're building a multi-generational organization, and that we are focused on, like, that's our focus as seniors, but as a team, we focus in every generation. We start with the senior and get referrals through all the generations. Maybe one of our young agents on the team, they start the opposite. They're working in Gen Z, and they might have a senior client. They're turning us going, what do we do now? I mean, that's that kind of thing. But no, and I've always, like, my brain thinks that way. I'm an empire builder. Like, that's just how I think. And so to find place when we did, it's been, we found our people. That was one of the things and I'll talk about that here in a minute, but it's finding your people, and then hanging out with them, and growing and learning, and doing all the things. So, and I think the other thing too, big picture, is that we are, like I said, advocating for seniors, but advocating for seniors with our realtor partners. So that they understand how best to serve, right? I mean, like what you're doing today and what you're doing, the two of you do to serve seniors, to serve the agents that want to serve seniors, you're educating them. And I think that's really vital. And so it's a passion of ours as well. So.
Any specific challenges you two want to get into right now? We've got a few minutes left, and then I have one final question.
I think one of the things, as you're building your senior business, you're going to be meeting people in communities, you're going to be meeting service industries. And I think one of the challenges is how fast the turnover is. You're making relationships, and then, like today, I'm on a senior care solutions team. So that's another good thing. Like, I'm part of the Jackson County Professionals in Aging Senior Care Solutions team. We're joining a new thing called ACAP, which is Adult Children of Aging Parents. Get involved in those groups to help build your network of referral partners as well. But also know that sometimes they're going to flip, and you're going to have to go get to know somebody else. So today I heard about a community that both of the main sales staff are gone now. So I need to run over there and meet the new people.
And you just did a seminar with them, right? I mean, like,
I did. I
2 months
spoke
ago.
at this community just recently. They invited us in to talk about downsizing, and yeah, now it's somebody new. So that is a challenge, but not something we can't overcome.
I think it's very interesting. Not only is there rapid change, they all move around. So I'll see the same faces at our regional networking, yet they're in all sorts of different roles. And I can't even keep track, because me and the other realtors, of course, the realtors come and go, but there's, 4 of us or so, are just continue to do real estate. And these guys, they were at that community. Now they're at this community. Now they're doing this. Now they're doing that. So it's fascinating.
Move to hospice, move to this, move to that.
Yeah. There's a lot of mobility in there.
And in 2020, though, one of the things we ran into is that Stacy had teamed up with many of these different people. And in 2020, they all decided to get their real estate license, which I thought was rather interesting, right? Yeah. I thought, well, and to pick a year like 2020 to become a realtor, I'm like, that's kind of a crazy year to do that. And to be honest, I think maybe one is still a realtor out of all the ones that flipped. So, I mean, they thought that would be the next great thing for them, because, they've seen success in real estate, and thought that would be the thing for them. So it's just interesting.
It is. Yeah, we have some of that too. I see us going into senior placement or staging or flipping and all of that, but I guess that's natural in the entrepreneurial spirit. My final question is, because the people here today, and I appreciate there's some new faces, the people here today, and especially the people listening, come from all different levels of experience. And we always like to end with, what would you recommend to agents just getting started in the senior market, whether it's one thing or a list of 5 things? What do you want to leave them with that they can is actionable?
So this is perfect timing. I literally just had an agent call me who is from our market, but because children who then will potentially have children move to a different city, they picked up and moved to a different city. When they did that, they decided that they were going to serve seniors. And so she called me the other day and wanted to pick my brain. She got her SRES and she wanted to know, now what? And so I thought what I said to her, I thought would be a great list to leave you guys with. So the first thing is find your people. Find your people wherever your people are. You know you, so find your people wherever they are. Get to know your product. So you're in a brand new city. You need to get to know all the senior communities. You need to get to know the people in the communities, not just in the senior communities, but in the community that will be your partners. Like so now it's your chance to start finding your partners. Then the next thing is, and specifically your vendor partners, finding your vendor partners. And then finally, I believe you start with your public platform. If you don't know anyone, because you can't do your personal platform, you could do a seminar platform right out of the gate, possibly, but it's all about your public platform. So you need to let people know in your brand new area that you're serving seniors. But I think but that's at the end. You really in the middle there, you got to make sure you know the product, and that's going out and visiting all the different communities that are out there. And I told her she'd moved to a suburb of Nashville, and I said I would start in that suburb. That's if it were me, I'd start in the suburb, and then I would start working my way out from that suburb, learning the product. Because she's like, well, I've got a buyer here or a buyer there. I get that part. But if you're truly wanting to start serving seniors in a brand new area, I believe that you've got to do that. You've got to start the plan. So find your people, get to know the product, which is the senior communities, gather your vendor partners, and finally launch your public platform.
Excellent. Stacy, did you want to add anything?
No, I think he did a good job. The main thing is just get involved. I would also join groups. I think it's important to join the different groups and get to know them that way as well, because those are good referral partners. But no,
So
that
community involvement.
Yeah.
Okay. You teed us up, Willie. Thank you. For our next feature, our next mastermind is actually about your public platform. You just started with seminars and the groups. We're going to talk about the use of social media and reaching your senior markets. I'm not going to say we're going to have all the answers, but we're going to talk about some of the ways to do that. So join us in that next mastermind. We appreciate you two coming and your unique role to it. Yes, the Danube, I'm not a cruiser, and Danube is on my list, but I got to save my pennies if we're going to be doing that. So we really appreciate you coming on today. Cathi, you want to close us out?
I sure do. Jody Fisher just said, thank you. And then I will say, Jody and Andy Fisher are next month's the couple in the spotlight, and they are great. They are real estate planners in the KW system. And so it will be some of that back and forth that I think adds so much. And to do the final wrap up, the social media mastermind is going to be a mastermind. So come prepared to participate. And
do breakouts again. I have one more question from Barbara, and Willie and Stacy. Maybe you can do that in the big group, sharing more about ACAP for us or with us. I wrote that down as a note for myself too.
Okay.
Good.
Awesome. Okay, so you guys take good care. We thank you from the bottom of our hearts. You are part of the first folks that we met, and you're part of what makes serving seniors an enjoyable piece in terms of our colleagues. And everybody else that's here, go make a difference in your communities for serving seniors.
Thanks for having us.
Okay, we'll see you soon.
See you soon.